What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Welcome back to Top Bins, the show bringing you all the soccer action from England and Italy. I'm your host, Matt, joined by my co-host, Dom. Dom, how are you today?
Good, man. I'm doing well. How about you?
You know, just never better. Living the dream, international break. You know how it is. You know how we live. Just enjoying the USA. Maybe the most boring games I've ever seen in my life. I was talking with Kyle on the main show about our World Cup group just looking pretty bad altogether. A lot of instability, it seems. So we'll see.
It's not looking bright for us, man, in my opinion.
Yeah, future has looked a lot better for the USA in so many ways. I mean, there's just so many ways you can take that. We have anytime it's international break, we like to do something a little different because we are a podcast that typically really likes to talk about the games of the last weekend and go a little more in depth there. There obviously haven't been any domestic games to talk about. So we like to spice it up. If it's your first time listening to an international break episode, do something a little different, to try out something a little more fun. I thought something that might be fun because we're American and we like to do drafts and fantasy. We have to commodify everything and really break it down. We could draft teams from each of the domestic leagues that we cover on the show, SerieA in the Premier League, and just go through, and pick the teams and how this will work. We divided the table into 4 groups of 5, so you can think of it as like the top 5, then 6 through 10, and then 11 through 15, 16 through 20. We will each go as like a snake draft. And alternate. We will pick one team from each group. We have to have equal teams from all the groups before we can go back to group 1, which is the top group, obviously, because otherwise we would just be working our way down the table essentially to make us think a little more and make it a little more strategic as well. Which teams we pick, which ones we omit. We're going to start in England. I am going to go first since England is typically the league that I'm paying a little more attention to. Dom will have 2 picks right after me, just so that way he gets second pick for Group 1 and first pick for Group 2, just to even it out a little bit. Otherwise, I would be getting first choice for the top 2 groups, which is a little unfair, I would say. Gotta give him a little respite there. So Group 1, in England is Arsenal, Manchester City, Tottenham, Brighton, and Manchester United. That is the top 5 in the table right now. I feel like this is an easy choice, if I'm being honest. I'm going to be taking Manchester City. I don't know how much explanation this needs, but they've been great to start the season. I just totally expect them to be great to finish the season. Wouldn't be surprised at all if they end up winning the title. They were my preseason title pick. So I don't know how shocking this is. I'm going to be taking Manchester City with the number 1 overall pick in the inaugural Top Bins fantasy draft.
The second overall pick in the Premier League fantasy draft. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone either. If you know my allegiances when it comes to the Premier League, I'm taking Arsenal. Goes without saying. You could tell this team's a little different than the previous Arsenal teams we've seen. So I definitely think that they're going to keep up this good run of form, and I think they'll do well for me.
Yeah, I like it. I think Arsenal out of the Group 1 here, probably it's really them and Spurs. I think are the choice here, and I think Arsenal have just shown a little more consistency to start the season. A little worried about how their fixture congestion piles up, but can't hate on the pick. So Dom, you get first pick in Group 2, which is Fulham, Chelsea, Liverpool, Brentford, and Newcastle United. So go ahead, make your top selection from Group 2. Some interesting names in there too.
Absolutely love that Brighton took up a spot in the first group. So and
they were there on merit alone.
I have to steal Liverpool away from you. This is a very obvious choice again. So highest goal differential in this group. So, they're not going to be down there for long if I'm being serious. So, yeah, I have to take them.
I appreciate that is an endorsement of Liverpool and that you'll be joining me along for the ride for the rest of the season. But yeah, Liverpool obviously have had a challenging start to the season. I think a lot of that has been injury based, but they haven't performed great either. They also haven't played now in like a month. So, we'll see how that goes at the weekend because we have a Liverpool-Brighton game to look forward to at the weekend. But I do expect that, over the course of the rest of the season, I don't imagine Liverpool finishing in the mid-table. I think we still expect them to finish in top 4. So it's a good pick. I'm going to go chalk here as well. I just think, Chelsea are right there for the taking. They have Graham Potter now. You expect that to, induce some consistency, probably some better results. We've only got to see them play one Champions League game under Potter so far, so haven't gotten a full. But he's gotten these few weeks now. This international break and the postponement of some games. I think to settle in at the club a little bit, as well as his staff, and probably work with the players in more close proximity than maybe he expected to be able to, have a little more time to iron things out. So that could be a benefit to them. I think Liverpool and Chelsea, we both expect to probably be finishing better. They're just value picks because we expect them to be finishing at a higher position than where they currently are. So it goes back to you, Dom, for Group 3, which consists of Leeds United, Bournemouth, Everton, Southampton, and Aston Villa. A little more challenging here. This is where it gets interesting because you're kind of just calling your shot with some of these teams and trying to search your way through what matters and what doesn't matter from the first few weeks of the season.
Well, given that we're coming off of the international break, I think I'm going to go with a team that features a couple U.S. internationals, both in management and on the field. So I'm going to pick up Leeds as well. They have the highest goal differential. They're even, scored the same amount of goals that they've allowed. But, looking at the other teams, I think this is the smart choice to go with. I think this is the smart choice to go with. Bournemouth has a negative 13 goal differential. Everton, still not confident in them after last season. And then Southampton and Villa. I mean, out of any of the other teams, you can argue Villa, but they haven't had the greatest start to the season. The quality in some of their players are there, but I think that Leeds is a little more cohesive of a team right now.
Yeah, hard to really disagree with your logic there. Leeds would probably have been my pick as well. They've looked good to start the season. Jesse Marsch is a good manager. They've got, I think, kind of the most momentum behind them. And, you expect that over the course of the season will probably perform pretty well. You imagine they'll probably settle around this area. You probably won't lose value with this team. You don't expect them to dramatically get worse. And they just seem like a team that, is going to be comfortable in the Premier League. Because, by the way, we're going to be keeping track of this throughout the year, too. And it is going to turn competitive like our Arsenal-Spurs bet did last season. So we'll be revisiting these at points in the season at the end of the year, too, to see whose group of teams actually performed better by point total. I'm going to go with the team that I put a lot of faith in at the start of the season, and I really don't have any other choice but to double down on that faith, I guess, in Aston Villa. I think there's two reasons I'm going for this, though. I think they can improve over the course of the season. It didn't help that Diego Carlos tore his Achilles day one of the Premier League season, and they had obviously spent the entire summer planning for him and had to adjust. Gerrard has been a little uneven as a manager to start the year. I wouldn't be shocked if Gerrard at some point is not the manager at Aston Villa, and that could obviously be a little bit of an upswing for them. So I'm mostly betting that Aston Villa are going to improve and be better through the second half of the season. I say that as if we're even halfway through the season. Really, the second 3/4 of the season, I think could be kinder to Villa. And they've had pretty good results the last few times that we've seen them out. In fact, beating Southampton. So I'm going to go for Villa. And just kind of hope that even if Gerrard doesn't turn them around, the next manager might, and that could be kind of a feather in my cap. Dom, you get the first pick on our last group as well. Really exciting stuff. I mean, just the best stuff. We've got Crystal Palace, Wolverhampton, West Ham, Nottingham Forest, Leicester City making up Group 4. These are the basement dwellers. there's some value here. I think we could say, but Dom, let's hear your pick for Group 4.
Now, my pattern has been go with the team with the best or a decent goal differential. I didn't follow it completely in the first group because Spurs had a higher goal differential than Arsenal. But in the other two, I made sure that I got the one with the highest goal differential. Here, it's kind of more of an emotional pick. I don't really know Crystal Palace too much aside from like Willie Zaha. And that kind of worries me when it kind of comes to, can they score some goals? Can they have some good performances and do well for me? I'm going to go with a little more of an emotional pick and go with West Ham. I think they've just been unlucky and been playing some pretty bad, football as of late, but they do have some quality players. They're a club that is normally in the upper half of the table by the end of the season. So they have some quality players. They signed a former AC Milan player. So I got to go with that. So I'll take West Ham and hopefully they don't screw me over.
Yeah, West Ham, I think if you look at like expected points, expected goal differential, you're talking about them being unlucky, and I think the stats bear that out, and they have been a little challenged at times with luck this season. But yeah, David Moyes, maybe this is just kind of an effect of him. Yeah, that would be the thing that worries me. But I mean, you're also picking from the bottom 5 teams in the league. There's going to be question marks no matter what. I do think West Ham are the best bet to obviously not end their season in this group because the talent is there, and you just expect that they're gonna figure it out. So again, hard to disagree with our first go around here. I'm actually gonna go with a team that you kind of just sort of fluffed by in Crystal Palace, because we can remember them last season. Obviously, Conor Gallagher was a help with that in a lot of ways, but they've had a really tough schedule to start the season. They played a lot of the big teams already, and they have everyone back healthy for the most part. And I like where they're at. I think they're a good team. I think Patrick Vieira is a good manager. I would be surprised if they finish in the bottom 5 of the league this season. And I think really, out of the teams remaining, I expect them to do the best. You've already taken West Ham from me, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finish above Wolves, and I expect them certainly to finish above Nottingham Forest and Leicester, the way Leicester have started the season. So I will be planting my flag in Crystal Palace. Much like we did last season, I felt like we talked about Palace a lot on the show and gave them a lot of praise. I'm willing to do that again if it means that I have a real vested emotional interest now in that in them doing well. So we will return now to Group 1. Really, you could pick from any group you want to. We do not have to go specifically 1, 2, 3, 4, as long as it balances out. You do one from each before you can move on to another one from the same group. I would have to imagine you're probably going to want to pick from Group 1. I don't want to speak for you, but Dom, you have total choice, total freedom here. That could come in handy in the last few picks here, because you may want to avoid some teams. But go ahead, Dom. You have carte blanche here, my friend.
Spurs.
Can you give me a go Spurs? Can you give me come on you Spurs real quick?
Nope.
All right, fair enough. I tried.
This was primarily just I want to make sure that I get a good team in Group 1, and I don't know if Brighton will stay this consistent. This is the best we've seen this team play in the league ever. So, and I don't know. I just can't get behind drafting United. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I think for Spurs, it makes a lot of sense because of the way they started the season and how strong they've looked at times. And I do think Europe could be an issue for them depending on how far they go. But we've seen Conte actually do a lot better, obviously, when he's out of Europe. I think one thing that would worry me about Spurs, too, is they're going to have a lot of players at the World Cup. That could always just get tricky with burnout and potential injuries. But what team isn't going to have a lot of those problems? Most teams, especially in a Group 1 situation, are going to have a lot of team players at the World Cup. That would be my concern. But yeah, you look at, again, a lot of the underlying numbers for Spurs. They've looked really good to start the season. It's been a lot of what we expected. They're level on points with Manchester City at this stage of the season. Harry Kane has started out really well. And this has all been without Heung-min Son playing, arguably at his best level. So I think there's a lot to be optimistic about with Spurs. And funnily enough, you have the North London grouping. You have Arsenal and Spurs to root for here. This is the year of peace for Dominic.
Look, I'm doubling down on the North London derby. So when it happens, I'm okay. I'm gonna win regardless.
You can never lose. Very smart. I like where your head's at there. You've put me in a really tough position, Dom, because I have to choose. I honestly kind of have to choose between Brighton and Manchester United. I think it would be foolish of me to not pick up one of these. Emotionally, being tied in any way to Manchester United performing well kind of hurts, kind of stings. I'm not that into the idea. And Brighton, I worry about with Graham Potter not being there anymore. Although they do have De Zerbi, our Sassuolo man. That could be nice, and I think could maybe surprise some people, but I don't expect them to be finishing in this group, whereas Manchester United are more likely to be finishing in this area in the table. So I think I'm going to just have to bite the belt here and just suck it up, and I'm just going to have to take Manchester United. I don't feel great about it. I will say, if I'm thinking about this more analytically, though, they have performed well recently. I think Ten Hag has got them playing a little better, and nothing will do better for him than some time. They do obviously have the Manchester Derby this weekend, so I could be immediately. It's funny that we've both ended up with two of the bigger rivalries here in England. So yeah, I think if you're telling me the story that United have a better part of the season going forward, I wouldn't be surprised at that. Although Harry Maguire's had a pretty disastrous international break. I don't know what kind of mental state he's coming back to Manchester with, but there we go. I'll take Manchester United off your plate. So again, you have free choice here, my friend. You do not necessarily have to go to Group 2. You can go to any of the remaining groups and pick a team.
Brentford. I'm gonna go with the goal differential theme again. They score some goals. Hopefully they can get some wins out of that.
Yeah, hard to disagree or argue too much there. Brentford have looked good this season. Ivan Toney has had a really strong campaign, and obviously going to be pushing to make the final World Cup squad. But he's looked like a lot like he did last year too, I would say. Speaking
of him, I forget who mentioned him on Twitter, but they were like, "Yo, you might as well start playing for the Jamaican national team because you're not going to – it seems like Southgate's not going to ever choose you." So I was like, geez. It's getting to the point with England. I'm sorry that this is an aside, but it's starting to get to the point where, you really have to call the management into question when it comes to some of the selections that they're doing. Was it Graham Souness or Gary Neville? Somebody tweeted at Southgate and was like, "There's a man at Milan named Fikayo Tomori that would play much, much better than Harry Maguire right now in the lineup." And
I will say the swiftness in which he has dropped, and I mean, I'm biased because I'm a Liverpool fan, right? But the swiftness in which he has dropped Trent Alexander-Arnold and never really properly, and Reece James too. He has two of the best offensive fullbacks, and Reece James a great two-way player too. He's an all-around very strong player, and has not been able to utilize either of them is a failure in management, and yet Harry Maguire has been stuck through in the worst situations despite terrible performances. His position is safe somehow. I don't understand it. Tomori not getting a look in. Tomori not getting a look in is insane. And the fact that they haven't scored a goal from open play since COVID, it's unreal. Obviously an exaggeration there, but they've not been a team with the attacking talent that they have. They should be doing a lot better, England. So we'll save that for the World Cup preview, though. Which is, by the way, tick coming up.
Coming close.
My pick here in Group 2 is going to be Newcastle United. I think they are one of the teams I'm most comfortable with that's left on the board in terms of their performance the rest of the season. They haven't been amazing to start the year, but they've certainly been good. They've been fair. I would say they've had fair performances, and I expect that to continue over the course of the season. I expect this is a team that could be active in January. They could be a team that really adds someone. They got Alexander Isak already, who's looked very bright when we've seen him. I'm excited to see the rest of his year and how he progresses. Obviously, again, just have to avoid the injury bug here for Newcastle, which is a problem for them. I know that they've had attackers. I think even Isak might be struggling with an injury at the moment, if memory serves. But over the course of the season, I've liked what I've seen from him. I've liked what I've seen from Newcastle. I just think they're probably the best pick on the board remaining. Dom, your selection is next.
Team Portugal, Wolves.
Wow. Reaching to the bottom dwellers here. Wolves. Can I get it just a little bit why we're going for Wolves here?
I'm not sold on any of the 3 remaining teams in the third group. I'm not. I think that Wolves are another one of those teams in that bottom 5 that really doesn't deserve to be there. And they've still got quality players that can get some momentum, get some winning ways, going with them so that they can shoot up the table. At least like mid-table.
I do think Wolves would probably finish better than, one above relegation. However, you looked at them last year, and they obviously had that really strong push, and then they just collapsed and have not looked good since. They don't have great striking options, not a goal-scoring, creative type of team. That worries me a lot, and sometimes we see these slides with teams where they just kind of fall off a cliff. Good luck to you. I'm kind of glad you have taken Wolves off the plate for me, because I did not want to have them because I don't think they're a threat for relegation, but I'm not sure they're making it back up to where we've kind of gotten accustomed to them seeing, in those 9 to 12 spot. I think they're much more a team that's going to be finishing around 15 this season. I'm gonna take just what the field is giving me here and take Southampton. And just kind of hoover up this midsection here. I don't love Southampton. I think I've questioned them a little bit. I think Hasenhüttl has a little Eddie Howe at Bournemouth, where it's you have some good performances, but what good is that when you kind of routinely 3 or 4 times a season are getting beat 4 or 5-0, 5-2, stuff like that. I just think a lot of times get kind of outclassed by other managers and individual performances. But Southampton, I do think have some room to grow, especially consider where they are on the table. You expect them to probably finish a little better. And they have been known to, go on some nice runs. And I think Southampton is a team, I wouldn't mind attaching myself to a little bit.
Okay, fair enough. So then that means I need to pick from that same group, right? The third
yes,
group?
you need to pick from group 3 before you can move to any other group, Tom.
You know what? Let me go with the theme of cross-city rivals. Give me Everton.
Wow, that is a bold pick, especially when we both picked them to be relegated this season.
I don't know. I'm not sold on Bournemouth. I'm not.
Yeah, it would be hard to
pick
pick Bournemouth.
It's impressive, through this many games. Even with Everton having a piss poor point total, they only have a -1 goal differential, which, it seems like they're getting something done, even though they've been getting unlucky, I guess. But maybe they'll stay in this kind of projected range, that third tier of teams in the league. My fingers are crossed. I'm shooting at. What's the saying? Shooting at fish in a barrel or something like that. What is the
shooting
saying?
Fish in a barrel?
Yeah, I don't remember what the saying is, but
it's like shooting fish in a barrel. You were
that
right there the whole
is
time.
That right?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what teams say when they play Everton. Mostly is that it's like shooting fish in a barrel. I think that's that's the problem. They've only scored 5 goals this year. That has definitely been an issue for them. I will say I was more negative about them coming into the year than now that we've seen them play, because they are better defensively than they were last season for large spells, and that'll probably stop them from being relegated, but not a team that I love. I feel like a draw factory. I have to pick a team from Group 4, and it is between Nottingham Forest and Leicester City, and I'm going to... Oh, Christ. I hate both of these options. I'm going to pick Leicester. And really my logic is they've looked awful. terrible, dreadful, and I've been very harsh on them. I am just buying in when they are the absolute floor. They can't be much worse. In fact, it would actually be very challenging for them to be much worse because they only have a point so far this season. So they're really about as bad as you could possibly be. I have to expect that this turns around in some way, whether that's with Brendan Rodgers or not. And again, similar to my Aston Villa selection, I think if a new manager comes in, maybe Leicester turns it around a little bit. Defensively, they've looked awful. I do not love this pick, but I picked Nottingham Forest to get relegated at the beginning of the year. I did not pick that for Leicester, and I think Leicester are a better team than what they currently are showing. They're not great, but I'm just picking sort of from value here and hoping that Leicester will will carry themselves out of the basement in some way.
No, man, I've been speaking it into existence that they're going to be underperforming. We just didn't see them underperforming this badly.
Yes, and you know what? I appreciated your pick in the offseason, but I would just be still a little surprised if they get relegated. But I tell you, the history for teams starting with 1 point through 7 games is not great in terms of staying up.
I mean, you're what, almost like a third of the way through the season already.
Yes,
so like it's kind of concerning.
It's not great, I'll say that. I'm doing this through gritted teeth, But the field is yours, Dom. You may make any selection. We only have 4 teams remaining.
See, this is kind of how I have to think about this. I'm either going to get first group and third group or second group and third group. And which do I think would benefit me more?
There's the inner machinations of Dom Pontari's mind right there on display. Very
Give me Brighton.
Brighton.
As you already have the
God damn it.
You already had the cursor on it, dude. Just waiting. So.
Oh, did I put my name?
Oh, you put your name. Get out of here. Come on, man.
For anyone who can't see behind the curtain here, we have a little Google Doc with the table, and I'm filling in our names.
I have editing access as well. I can change it.
Not anymore. Actually, I'm gonna change that. Yeah, Brighton. I think were my choice as well out of the remaining field. Even though without Potter, you expect them to maybe take a little step backwards. Zerbi's still a good manager, and I think he can still have them play very well. And I wouldn't be shocked to still see Brighton finish around that mid-table spot. Probably finishing better than all the remaining teams. I'll pick Fulham, a team that I was pretty keen on coming into the year, and they have not disappointed me. And I don't expect them necessarily to finish as they are now in European spots, but I do think they'll be good. And I think they'll be the team again, probably stay in the Premier League for next season. And I don't mind having them on my side at all. Good offensive team that can still pull off points any given week.
Yeah.
The choice of choices here.
Kind of screwed. Oh man, I don't like either of these teams, man.
This is where it does get challenging. We're choosing now between Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest. Really, you're choosing what team to give me. Dom is flipping a coin, which I think is fair.
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth is Dom's pick. The Scott Parkerless Bournemouth Cherries. Bournemouth, I think, have turned it around a little bit since Parker's departed, and we'll see how they perform the rest of the season. I was worried about their talent coming into the year. That has shown through in the first few weeks of the season, the first few games. Not too surprising. That leaves me with the simple arithmetic of selecting Nottingham Forest. I don't hate it. I didn't love them coming into the year. I'd also picked them to get relegated, but let's not forget they bought like 20 players this summer. Might take some time to bet in, and maybe things change. Maybe there's a managerial change again, and you get a nice little bounce off that. But I haven't loved them overall. They've lost some key matches already. So I'm looking forward to it. We will check back in maybe like every month or so with our with how our teams are doing. I'll keep track of the points tally from today's date onward and see at the end of the year whose teams had more points to share. Dom, let's move to Italy. where you will have the number 1 pick. Here are the groups, just so everyone you're listening knows. Napoli, Atalanta, Udinese, Lazio, Milan in Group 1, Roma, Inter, Juventus, Torino, Fiorentina in Group 2, Sassuolo, Spezia, Salernitana, Empoli, Lecce in Group 3, Bologna, Hellas Verona, Monza, Cremonese, Sampdoria in Group 4. Dom, you got the first pick, my friend. You can go. You can go anywhere you like. You can open the book. If you want to really go for Lecce, or I know how much you loved. I know how much you loved Monza coming into the season. I think it makes a lot of sense.
We'll get to that when we get down there. I don't have to deal with them until later on in the draft. Listen, I may surprise some viewers here because you would think I would go right away and go very emotional, but I have to take Napoli. The way that they're playing right now. It's just intense. I mean, they've got so many goal scorers, such electric players in the league. I mean, some of the players from that club had good games this weekend in the international break. Raspadori for Italy, Lozano for Mexico. So Kim Min-jae is, I'm pretty sure, the SerieA player of the month, if I'm not mistaken. So they've been playing very, very well. They deserve it. 17 points, plus 10 goal differential, highest in the league. I got to take them.
Yeah, I hard to disagree. I think they have looked like the best team in Italy to this point, and so it is hard to not select them with your first pick. And I mean, we saw last year up until December they were top of the table in Italy, and obviously faded a little bit for the course of the season. Had a kind of a rough spring, but still a team you expect, especially with the way they've started, will be in those top 4 spots and has, I would say, a pretty safe floor and a pretty high ceiling. I mean, this team could win the title this year. I don't think that's inconceivable. Man, this is tough because there are 3 teams I love in this group. Lazio were a preseason favorite of mine. I thought Milan would be finishing, second or could be fighting for the title again. Atalanta I was not high on, but have impressed me this season. I'm going to go with the team, though, that I felt most comfortable coming into the season with. I'm going to steal it from you. I'm going to steal your joy because you stole Liverpool from me. So we will both be rooting for each other's teams. Milan, I was high on Milan coming into the year. I thought, again, they would be fighting for the title, and nothing I've seen from them has told me that that's not the case. I still think this is very much a similar type of team. In fact, I think that you could say they've actually improved in some areas. We can't forget that it's a long season, and I just like what I've seen from them to start the year. I also like that they won't be having tons of players going away to the World Cup, and that could be beneficial to them. And I like the idea too of kind of stealing Milan off of your plate.
I hate you, dude. I hate you.
I also get first pick here again, and oh boy, Roma, Inter, Juventus, Torino, Fiorentina is obviously Group 2. Well, I got to tell you, I am between so many minds here. Really, I have to say, in the interest of transparency for our listener, I am most between Roma and Inter. Inter, again, I thought would be fighting for the title again this season, similar to last year. They've had some consistency problems, which worries me. And I've been a little frustrated with Inzaghi at times. And I still think the talent is there, though, with this team. I still think there's a very strong team, and I would be surprised if this is where they finish out the season. Roma, if you look at a lot of the underlying numbers, should be more near the top of the table. They just haven't been able to finish their chances. They're creating a lot of opportunities for players to score and just haven't quite converted on them. If the numbers kind of bounce a little more favorably towards Roma, they could skyrocket up the table, similar to what we've seen from Napoli, Atalanta. I'm going to again pick similar to what I did with Milan. I'm going to go with the Milanese, very, very strong here. I'm going to go with Inter. Again, I'm just going mostly off my preseason intuition, and I have, yes, I am. And I have not seen too much that has dissuaded me from Inter. I'm a little more worried about them than I was in, say, August, but if I had to pick a team that I was most confident in finishing in, say, the top 3 in Italy this season out of this group, Inter would be my choice, and that is how I'm making this choice for myself.
I feel like Mourinho's got something cooking. Now, I'm tempted to pick Juventus, but they deal with injury issues here and there. They've got a bunch of drama surrounding the club right now. Allegri's days are numbered, so there may be a new coach and new kind of culture coming into the club. But that's a big if, and I don't know if that gives me enough confidence to pick them over Roma. I like the players that Roma have. I like the style of play that they've been bringing this year to the league. Tammy Abraham is a perfect league for him. The way that it's played, a lot more tactical, physical, a lot of crossing coming into the box. Dybala is Dybala. He'll find a way to get them some points here and there. So I've got to take Roma with my second pick.
Yeah, hard to argue. I think Roma would have been my second choice out of this group as well. Again, I just think, like you mentioned, and like I mentioned when I was discussing my my schism choosing between them and Inter, if things just kind of bounce the right way for Roma over the next few weeks, they could be a team that going into the World Cup is sitting, in the top 2 spots in Italy. It's really not out of the realm for them. So they've looked good. I think there's a lot to be kind of excited about if you are a Roman. Group 3, Sassuolo, Spezia, Salernitana, Empoli, Lecce. I don't love any team in this group, actually, because I also feel that there's a few teams in here that I'm Lecce I picked to get relegated, Salernitana I picked to get relegated, and Empoli I thought were going to be underperformers this year. So already 3 teams I'm not too high on. Spezia are a team I don't expect to do very well. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked if they're finishing below where they currently stand in the table. So by process of elimination, I've sort of just worked myself to Sassuolo, who I also have not been in love with this season. There's been some talent drain there. Don't really love what I've seen out of them this season, but I just really would not want any of these other teams. I'm not looking forward to when we have to circle back and choose one of those other squads. So really just by process of elimination, I'm going with Sassuolo and hoping that they at least finish comfortably mid-table and I'm not losing a lot of points. Dom, you have the biggest grin I think I've seen out of you all night.
Yeah, because you just let one of the biggest gems in the draft fall to me. I'm taking the Salerno boys. Give me them.
God bless you.
Listen, I know they've been getting unlucky in some of their games, but the way they played that 3-5-2, the way that Kandreva and Mazzocchi, attack down the wings, get the ball into the box. They've got players here and there on that squad that can make something happen. And for being unlucky, they are one of the only teams in the bottom half of the table. They are the only team in the bottom half of the table who has scored more than they have conceded, which is promising for them for this season. So I wanna go with Salernitana.
Fair enough. I don't hate it. I don't love it either, if I'm being honest with you. But I would not call that the steal of the draft.
Listen, they've been a thorn in the side of many teams this season.
Listen, we will see. I can't wait to roll it back in late May and just see where we end up. Group 4, Bologna, Hellas Verona, Monza, Cremonese, Sampdoria. I'm going to go with a team that has already had a managerial change, that has the top scorer in SerieA currently, and that I think has some potential to really work their way up the ladder. That is Bologna. I just think I would be pretty surprised if Bologna finishes a bottom 5 team in SerieA this season. I think they've better talent than what they've shown so far. And I think managerial change can always be a good impetus for realizing a little bit of that. So I am again sticking my flag in Bologna.
Give me Hellas Verona. They're a team who's uncharacteristically, in the lower end of the table, the bottom 5. But they have lost, their best goal scorer. They're a little lackluster in their attack and in the way that they play. But the bottom 3, I have to wait till we circle back around to pick one of those. I'm kind of just, backed into picking Hellas Verona. Monza and Cremonese, they're going to chill in the bottom 3 the whole time, even though, I was high on Monza. And Sampdoria's just been playing awful. Nothing they've done can convince me to want to pick them over Hellas Verona.
I do feel like in Italy, it's been more for me process of elimination rather than teams. I'm really sticking my flag in. Bologna, I do think is better, and I truly believe in them. But even Sassuolo, I'm not in love with them. Really, the bottom half of SerieA, I'm like, I kind of don't love anyone out of this group. You know, it's a little tough. There's a big disparity for me between the top half of the table and the bottom half of the table in Italy. I don't love a lot of the teams that I see in the bottom half. I don't think there's a lot of teams necessarily that have been like unlucky. I just think they're just not as good, and I don't totally buy in. There's no West Ham, right? I don't feel, in that situation that could kind of climb the ladder.
Before you rip another team from the first group away from me, can I just ask you a question?
You can ask me any question.
I know you obviously watch the Premier League way more than me. How much SerieA do you watch? Do you normally just get time to watch like the marquee games?
So yeah, normally and now that I work weekends again, to let you all in on my life, Premier League, typically I would watch not every game in the Premier League, but I would watch every like time window. So like whatever game was on at 7:30, whatever game was on at 9, and then whatever like the 12:30 game was. And Italy now, especially that they start the 6:30 games, I actually like that because I work early on the weekend. So I'll usually almost always now watch whatever the early game is. And then I will always watch the late game, whatever the 2:45 kickoff for us, and then just fill in highlights, in extended highlights. And then typically too, like during the week, if there's a game that I really want to watch, I'll just throw it on and put the playback speed a little higher and watch the full thing. What I really loved is beIN Sports used to do 90 in 30. Which is great. It gave you like a great condensed version of the game for games that you really wanted to see a little more of, teams you wanted to see a little more of. I wish more leagues did stuff like that. The extended highlights are nice, but never really give you the full picture. But SerieA, SerieA has like a wide range of times too, which is just like from 6:30 to 3, there could be a game on, which is kind of nice. But
yeah, that's a nice thing. I sit here, I'll go on like Xbox or something, and then I'll just flip through the games. Like if it's boring, like if one game gets boring, I'll flip over to the other one. I like the PC application for Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
So just switching between games is very easy and seamless. So, I watch quite a bit. So when we get to these like bottom 10, I kind of am thinking back to like, okay, which teams did I enjoy watching? Like which ones had like some promise here or there, and maybe a little more emotional of picks for me. But I do agree. You
gotta love who you're rooting for. You don't want to be rooting for teams you hate. Like I picked Manchester United. I'm still feeling really icky about it. I don't love that feeling.
Isn't it weird? Like Liverpool, Manchester United, and you're like, oh, I hope to God.
I'm actually fine if that pick totally tanks. I'm cool with it. Like if that's what I lose on to, I'm totally cool with it.
Fair enough.
It is my pick. I am really stuck between two teams, and I honestly don't know who to pick. I might actually do a coin flip as well. I am very much between Atalanta and Lazio. Lazio were my dark horse pick to finish in the top 4 coming into the year. It is too early to take any kind of victory lap for that, but I've liked largely what I've seen out of Lazio. Not so much in Europe, but I do like them. Atalanta have really surprised me. I did not expect them to look this good. And it is hard for me to really differentiate between this is sort of head and heart here. My heart tells me Lazio. My head is telling me Atalanta have been a team that have just figured out a way. And I'm trying to read your face and see which team you want. I am going to go... Damn, I'm going to go Atalanta. I think that they have been the team that has impressed me, probably outside of Napoli, has impressed me the most so far this season, which of course makes sense because they're the top 2 teams in Italy at the moment. I'm just not going to bet against Gasperini just yet. I'm not going to bet against this team, which, by the way, doesn't have a lot of European distraction to worry about as much, and could be a team that maybe just figured out domestically this year, and maybe they finish in that top 4 again. And I'm going to ride that bet. Lazio have been volatile. That's been our thing with them. Through our podcast history, the Jekyll and Hyde team, as we have affectionately called them. So maybe I'll just leave that landmine for you.
If you thought I was smiling because it appeared like you were leaving me Atalanta, no, I was smiling because you left me Udinese. Give me them all day. I cannot support Nazis, so I cannot support Lazio. All right, listen. Udinese have been one of the hottest teams this season. They have players that are leading all different types of metrics and statistics in the league right now. Beto has been crazy for them. I can't go against them. Deulofeu has been great for them as well. There's something about this Udinese team, like the same thing like I said about Salernitana, but like Udinese has the points to back it now. They've been a thorn in the side of teams and they've taken teams down. And, it's no fluke that they have 16 points. They're a good team. If they can stay healthy, this is going to be a team that could put up a lot of points this season.
Don't hate it. Feel a little disrespected, but don't hate it. Group 2, I am looking between Juventus and Fiorentina. I'm going to go Fiorentina, actually. I know that many would, in my position, would probably take Juventus. Maybe that's more like the smart play, a little more safety in that. But they've been terrible this season. Have really not looked good. And there's some turmoil there, too. Obviously with Allegri, they can't really fire him because of financial problems. They don't quite have the money to pay off Allegri. Maybe they shouldn't have given him such a big contract. I don't know. And I just don't love. I don't love it. I don't love what I've seen there. Fiorentina, I expect to finish probably around where they currently are. I don't think that they're in line for any like massive leap or that they've been really underperforming to this stage of the season. But I think I would feel morally better if I'm rooting for Fiorentina over Juventus.
Morally, yes. I have to put my pride aside. I have to sell my soul to the devil.
Can you just give me a good Fino Alfine, like a little...
Heck no. Heck no. However, I can't pick Torino. Of the two Turin teams, I can't do that. Torino has been overachieving right now, in my opinion. I think they find themselves in 13th, 14th by the end of the season. It's not going to go well for them. Juventus will go up in point total, regardless of who's in charge, regardless of what's going on. They always end up finding a way to pay the refs. So, let me get a little bit of that Calciopoli money on my side and pick Juventus up.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack with what you just said. I'll say that. For legal reasons, I won't. So we're moving. We're really moving down to Group 3 again. Spezia, Empoli, Lecce. I picked Empoli as my underperformer for the year, but I think if I had to choose between the three of them, who I feel most confident to finish the highest, it would still be Empoli. I think they've still found ways to score goals and still have a good management system there. Still some good bones of a squad. Even though they've lost some players over the summer. So I'm going to roll with Empoli as my selection here. I just don't love the options. I really don't love any of the options remaining in the bottom half here. So, but I will just stake my claim with Empoli. Under the Tuscan sun, I shall bake.
Nice. There you go. There it is. Milan Primavera product. Lorenzo Colombo has been scoring goals for them right now. So. Give me Spezia. I'm not taking Lecce. Come on now. Don't disrespect me.
That is typical, just northern aggression by you, just hating on the southern.
Hey, wait, I am full southern. I am not northern. Don't no. Come on now.
To say, actually, you have pretty much every southern team. You went Salernitana, Napoli, and now. Okay, I respect it.
But Spezia, last season they were the team that gave all the big clubs issues, and they still have a couple players here and there that I can still potentially give them some performances that'll win them some much needed points to make sure that they stay above a lot of these other teams that are going to be fighting to stay out of the relegation zone. So yeah, I'll pick them up.
So staring down the barrel of the gun, I have Monza, Cremonese, Sampdoria to pick from, and I hate them all. I hate the picks. Sampdoria have been dreadful. Even going back to last season, they were flirting with relegation, obviously just stuck above it, but that was because there's three worse teams than them. I'm not totally convinced that there are necessarily three worse teams than Sampdoria this year. Giampoli, I don't know what's going on there. A lot of concern for
Gianpaolo
Sampdoria.
is terrible, man.
Monza is my pick simply because I think that a certain former politician has invested a lot of money in Monza, and January rolls around and they're not in a good position. That money might get flexed a little stronger. So I'm going to pick Monza just in the hopes that this team finds its way in SerieA. They have some talent there. I'm not particularly elated with my decision.
Attaccare! Tutti. Attaccare! All right, anyway. Give me Samp. I'll take him. I don't trust Cremonese at all.
I don't either. I don't trust Sampdoria, if I'm being honest. Dom, you're taking the basement dwellers, Sampdoria.
Give me them. They are tied on points and tied on goal differential with Cremonese. It really, I'm shooting myself in either the left foot or the right foot.
And you know what?
I'm gonna
when you put it that way, it's hard to argue with you. When you put it that way, it is hard to argue it. You've left me with a fine gift at the top of the table, I have to say. You've left me with Lazio, my love, mi amo. I am going to take.
That's crazy. Are you a Nazi sympathizer?
Stop.
That's nuts, man.
I hate the sin, love the sinner. You know,
of all people I know in this world, you are the last person I would.
Listen, in light of recent events in Italian political elections, we won't be going down that road because we're already, we're a little.
Yeah, we're in the hot seat after 2 weeks ago.
Well, I'm talking more about the recent prime minister elections in Italy, but yeah, maybe making fun of that. Well, I regret nothing. I regret nothing about the Queen's death. I regret nothing about what I said. In fact, I'll double down on it if I need to. But I would take Lazio. Again, a team I was high on coming into the season. I think Ciro Immobile is a guy that you can count on to score lots of goals, be there at the end of the season. I'm attaching myself to some good talent, Milinkovic-Savic included. And I think Maurizio Sarri can figure this out. I think they're a team that can finish top four, and they've shown me enough in spurts this season. I just hope for more consistency. In fact, that's what Maurizio Sarri hopes for too. So that's always nice when you share the same concern as the manager.
Well, you know what? Have fun picking between Lecce and Sampdoria. Give me Torino.
You mean Lecce and Cremonese? I think you already forgot that.
Yes. Excuse me. I forgot that I picked up Sampdoria.
How the mighty have fallen. I could never pick Torino. No shot. Well, actually, Torino's looking pretty nice.
They're looking better than the other two. I'll tell you that.
Oh, boy.
You might as well put my name next to Cremonese. Like,
Yeah, I might as well, because there's no way I'm picking Cremonese. I don't see it. You could tell me a story that Lecce find their way to stay in Serie A this season, and I wouldn't find it too absurd. There's no shot I'm picking Cremonese. So Cremonese falls to you, Dom.
Thanks.
Lecce I don't love, but hey, they've got to win at least. Like they've done something. Like so many teams in Italy have not been able to do at this point. So there it is. There was our fantasy draft. I hope you enjoyed that. Just to recap, this could get a little confusing. I have, in England, Manchester City, Manchester United, Fulham, Chelsea, Newcastle United, Southampton, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, and Leicester City, whereas Dom has Arsenal, Spurs, Brighton, Liverpool, Brentford, Leeds, Bournemouth, Everton, Wolves, and West Ham. So, if you want to play along, if you want to kind of keep track of here at the weekend,
are you team Dom or team Matt?
Maybe whose picks did you like a little more, perhaps? In Italy, Dom, you have Napoli, Udinese, Roma, Juventus, Torino, Spezia, Salernitana, Hellas Verona, Cremonese, and Sampdoria, whereas I have selected Atalanta, Lazio, Milan, Inter, Fiorentina, Sassuolo, Empoli, Lecce, Bologna, and Monza. So I like where we're at. I like my draft. I like my teams.
It's weird because you have the first pick of the draft and you get the most you get the most teams. The way the draft went, you get the most teams in the bottom tier. But you also get the most teams in the second tier. You're just hoping that the two teams you took from the top and your second tier teams can kind of supplement what the bottom tier may fail to produce. So it's interesting. I had to think a little bit more for the SerieA one than kind of just take from my pick because I was lucky enough to pick second. So
that's what I was hoping for this exercise too. It allowed us, I think, to reflect a little bit on the season that we've already had. 7 games to look at. And then think a little bit, attach some stakes to the idea of what teams we actually think are going to perform well over the course of the year. Maybe we'll do this for the World Cup too. That might add a little bit of a little bit of fun, a nice little twist to that.
The only time international competition matters.
I like the Euros. I think the Euros are fun.
Yeah, the Euros are fun. But this one you get to see more than just the European teams.
Of course.
Even though the European teams probably have to play the highest quality, but you're missing out. Like not too many people watch the Copa Sudamericana all the time, and stuff like that. So and there's some you've got some really good Asian teams. You got some really good South American and Central American teams. The U.S. plays in it, so it's a little more emotional for us. So the World Cup obviously like so much better, so much better, but.
I do expect tears for sure. Speaking of being emotional, I do expect tears at some point in this World Cup.
From me or from you?
Probably from me. Probably be so upset. I don't know. Dom, anything to plug before we get out of here?
Yeah, follow me on Twitch. FIFA 23 just came out, so and I've already packed Neymar and an untradeable Cristiano Ronaldo. So.
Yet again with the untradeable Ronaldos from you.
Yeah, almost exactly a year apart, which is crazy. But I'm trying to get the settings on my PC, right so that it runs smoothly. Twitch.tv/SerieA. Make sure you follow me. Once I get that rolling, we're gonna have some fun. I'm liking it right now. So, Matt, do you have anything to plug?
No, I don't. I don't have anything to plug. Well, actually, follow us on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, we'd appreciate it. If you get us to 1,000, we told you that we would really break down Italy versus Germany in 2006. What better time to do that? Maybe in the throes of the 2022 World Cup. So get us to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That'd be much appreciated. We'll obviously be giving you some content, not just on this channel, but any other podcast you listen to on the branch, the network of Underground Sports Philadelphia, have all made some sort of pledge of things they will do if we get to that 1,000 subs. So please do that. We appreciate it very much. Appreciate you if you've been listening. I hope you enjoyed the little international break. It's always kind of nice to just have a little time off, but we'll be right back. And, we're back in the action now and then leading us right into the World Cup. So it is, we're on breakneck speed now, as we hurtle towards the, as you described it, the best international tournament. I have to agree. I mean, it's hard to disagree. Until next week, when we have actual games to break down, and talk about, we will talk to you next time. See ya.